Welcome to Corporate Fuckery, stories of survival, psychological warfare, and choosing what's best for you. I'm Lauren DeGolia, certified success coach, subconscious strategist, astrologer, and former corporate insider turned truth teller. This podcast isn't just about layoffs and life detours. It's about reckoning. It's about remembering, about reclaiming the parts of ourselves that we abandoned to fit in a system that never really saw us. Let's kick this off with a fantasy. Picture a VP pacing their modern kitchen. It's 6:45 in the morning, AirPods in, sipping their first of many coffees while listening to this podcast. They're nodding along like, wow, she gets it. Fast forward a few hours and they're sitting in a meeting nodding again, this time reluctantly, as HR presents a beautifully packaged return to office mandate forcing people back in the office 5 days a week. They don't agree with it, not even a little, but they smile, nod, and go along with it. Why? Because they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to speak up against the 800 reasons the business has cooked up for why this is a good idea. This is corporate fuckery in action. Welcome to episode 4, The Art of the Reinvent. Today we are talking about autopilot. Not the kind you'll find on an airplane, the kind that hijacks your calendar, your body, and ultimately your soul. Where your mornings run on caffeine and your evenings wind down with wine. Where you wear ambition like armor and you're overfunctioning like a badge of honor. And it works until it doesn't. I remember feeling like an overdressed robot back in my Nordstrom technology strategy days. Heels that hurt, a smile painted on with lipstick, a to-do list I wore like a personality. Back then, I used to escape to my yoga mat twice a week for my sanity, and I hit the gym at 5 a.m. for some extra quiet time before my day started. I used to believe that if I just exercised harder, carved out a bigger, better goal, or showed up with more patience, I'd finally feel better. But the second I stepped off my yoga mat or out of the gym and back into my day, instant whiplash, on repeat, daily. This is where corporate autopilot kicks in and we find ourselves in a time warp. A week becomes a month becomes a year, and somehow life is happening to you. Even when you're doing everything right, it feels like you're watching your life through plexiglass. Present but not connected. Alive but not fully living. Now, let's talk about how this level of autopilot living relates to your body's neurology and why you might be feeling stuck. There are two parts of your mind. Your conscious mind, which loves logic, it's your goal setter, your to-do list maker, your spreadsheet queen, but it makes up only 5% of your brain's function. The other 95% is your subconscious or unconscious mind. Those terms can be used interchangeably, just FYI, and its primary job is to keep you safe, even if safe means burnt out, underpaid, or silently miserable. To your subconscious, familiar equals safe. That's why you stay in the job, in the cycle, in the relationship, in the silence, because your brain is built that way. If you take anything away from this episode, it's this. Autopilot isn't laziness. It's self-protection. And reinvention starts when you realize that your system isn't broken, it's just outdated. Let's make it even more real. Have you ever driven to work, sat through a day of meetings, answered 57 emails, and then looked up like, what just happened today? The whole day passing in a fog? That's not disconnection. That's your subconscious taking the wheel and digesting your day like your body metabolizes your lunch, automatically and without much prompting. Your conscious mind processes about 126 bits of information a second. It's the part of you saying you're meant for more. But your subconscious, it processes 2.3 million bits per second. It remembers your boss's tone from your last review, the awkward performance conversation you had in 2011, and every time you swallowed your opinion in a meeting to stay likable. It runs the show because it was designed to. And if we geek out a little bit further about your subconscious mind, Your basal ganglia loves routines. Isn't that sexy? And the amygdala scans for threats, which is why novelty, aka change, can feel like danger. That's why planning a vacation sometimes feels overwhelming. But let's talk about what corporate autopilot looks like in action. To your conscious mind, that 5% that feels most logical, your mind says things like, take the PTO. You deserve a break after working this hard, even though you've hit the cap on PTO accrual for the third year in a row. Or, you've outgrown this role. It's time for something bigger and better, and you spend minutes a day fantasizing about the corner office or having a bigger team. Or it sounds like you're allowed to want more than a paycheck. You're not asking for too much to want to be treated with respect around here. But your subconscious whispers, if we rest, we fall behind. Speaking up equates to being difficult, and you can stay safe by staying prepared. So autopilot looks like editing emails 3 times to sound assertive but likable, but saying yes to the 7 a.m. Asia time zone call to prove your commitment, and bearing your intuition because your KPIs say you're thriving. This isn't sabotage, it's safety, familiarity, and programming. But here's where the self-help world gets it wrong. I'm sure you've heard change your thoughts, change your life, or just rewire your brain. And I love Joe Dispenza and Tony Robbins, but here's the tea. Your subconscious doesn't speak English. It speaks emotion, repetition, safety. So unless your body believes it's safe to become the next version of you, your subconscious will sabotage the change every single time. That's not weakness. That's your biology. Here's the truth about reinvention. If you're questioning your current situation with your job, your career path, unemployment, your identity as a leader, please hear me. There is nothing wrong. You're not off course. Your mind is running an outdated program of what your success, wealth, and peace, and likely a million other things related to corporate fuckery and how they have looked in your life up to this point. And now that you know that, you can learn how to rewrite that and practice updating it on the regular. Not with more hustle, but with emotional safety, subconscious alignment, nervous system expansion, capacity creation, so that you can have more of what you want on your own terms without chaining your identity to your career or the impact you're making in the organization. That's the work I do, and I'm living proof that it works. So let's bring this all together with a quick story time. Back at Nordstrom in 2018, I stood at the end of Executive Row, which is also known there as the Green Mile. It's the hallway above Store 1, lined with offices full of people with the last name of Nordstrom. I had a meeting with my CTO that day. We had, let's just say, friction. I was not a fan. I didn't know if I was going to walk in and be celebrated or flambéed. So preemptively, to get a pulse on what to expect, I texted my friend and I asked her to pull an oracle card. Me, the queen of data, the spreadsheet strategist, the executive PowerPoint storyteller, begging a deck of cards for safety. That's how far I drifted from trusting myself. From there, I started the slow work of reinvention, which you learned more about in episode 2 of this podcast. I built my business on the side, went all in on neuroscience certifications, and began to layer self-trust over strategy. And that brings me to 2025. I thought I could outsmart my way out of Microsoft, have the perfect timeline, the seamless handoff, the safe departure when I was ready to go all in on my business. But then life gave me a masterclass in surrender. My dad passed away unexpectedly in June. And the kicker, I was on the East Coast the week he died, graduating from a board-accredited certification that I consider the Harvard of subconscious change work. It's the one that crowned me level expert in identity rewiring, emotional safety, and helping people get off the very autopilot we've talked about today. 3 weeks later, I was laid off from Microsoft. That's not a coincidence. That's a calling. That week cracked me open and birthed this podcast. This is the full circle moment that got us from episode 1 to today. Reminder, reinvention isn't something you wait for. It's something you start planting seeds for in small ways in the moments of in between. It's something you commit to, even when the timing isn't perfect, even when the plan blows up, even when the universe hands you a grief storm and a pink slip in the same breath. Because the truth is, reinvention isn't about more control. It's about how to build something so rooted in your truth that no job, no title, and no performance review can take it from you. Since 2019, I've rebuilt everything: my nervous system, my business, my identity. I got certified in neurolinguistic programming, hypnotherapy, emotional freedom techniques, rapid resolution therapy, and life and success coaching. Not because it was trendy, but because I was desperate to understand how to actually get off the autopilot train. I lived it, I broke it, and I rewired it. And now I help other high-achieving leaders do the same, especially the ones who know deep down that the life that they built is no longer the one they want to keep living. There's no shame in that. None. That's just the first signal that something bigger is out there waiting for you. This podcast, it's a home for those leaders, a space to call out the corporate bullshit, to unpack the emotional toll, and most importantly, to give you tools to choose what's best for you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to my journey over these last few episodes. Going forward, this podcast will be dedicated to themes and topics around where corporate fuckery hides or sabotages your peace inside and out of the boardroom, and how you can reclaim the parts of yourself that don't feel seen or validated so that you can choose what's best for you. Because when you choose what's best for you, you change the whole damn universe. And we are just getting started.